Alright guys, so Mike and I brought the engine building slash measuring. What would you call it? We're checking tolerances basically. We came inside because it's kind of cold outside. And we're using our dining room table. So welcome to our dining room. So Mike is using Plastigauge. This is something I referenced in our last video. I'll let Mike explain exactly what he's doing and show you what it is. So go ahead, Mike.
Alright, well, Plastigauge isn't something I would normally use, but when I was going through using a micrometer and dial bore gauge, I was getting a reading that I didn't quite trust, I guess you'll call it. So before I take that number and run with it, I figured I would do the old backyard double check, use some Plastigauge, and see if it reads about in line with what I was seeing on the bore gauge, and just use it as a way of double checking my measurements. So obviously it's not the most scientific because it's a piece of plastic that you squish and then measure how thick it's squished to. So yeah, we'll do that. See if it's about in range with what I was seeing yesterday on the dial bore gauge, and take it from there. Trust but verify is what I was always taught. So
Why not double check it?
yeah,
And excuse the mess in our dining room.
we're not gonna. It'll almost be an event every weekend,
Hopefully.
depending on what we're doing. You don't like to just do car stuff, though. You're not a true car girl.
Excuse me? I live in the garage. So what are you doing now?
Just put the bolt in.
There's car parts all over this house. There's an IAG box back there for the block. And a heat gun from wrapping. Good Lord. I can't wait to get my house back. Especially my office. Haven't made a sticker in months.
Yeah, right. You made stickers last weekend.
I did. For the Marshall Effect event. Gosh, this thing is so pretty. So you're just going to tighten these down and then torque them, and then that will squish the material. Then you'll use the indicator on this guy to measure.
Is correct.
So Plastigauge, this is 0.002 to 0.006. So this is the bigger of the two.
Well, they make like 6, but
Okay, well, the bigger of the two we bought. And then you got the 001 to 003. So this is more for rod bearings, you said? Or just tighter tolerances in general.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can measure your mains with that as well.
And you said this is the bearings that we're using?
Yep. Well,
you're measuring currently.
those are the bearings that are in there. No guarantee I'm going to use those.
Cool. Okay, Mike, so what are you doing now?
Seeing how the width of the Plastigauge compares to the number I was getting the other night.
How's it comparing so far?
It's about exactly like what I was expecting.
Okay, well, that's good that your tool is consistent. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once?
Uh-huh.
Measure twice, send it once? Thoughts?
Plus side is when the new bearings get here, it'll be perfect.
Awesome. Well, thanks for confirming it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you just wipe that stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
And are we just gonna keep those old bearings, new old bearings, new unusable bearings for maybe a stock short block application?
For a rainy day.
All right. Well, if anyone needs stock bearings that are dialed in, hit us up. Mike and I came out to Mofab today to check out Aaron's car. We've been watching Aaron build this car for a few years now, so it's pretty cool to see it done. Okay, Mike, so what are we up to?
Trying the second round of main bearings in the block.
Okay, so remind me what we did. So we tried in the other bearings and they were too tight.
No, actually, I don't know if we have a good video on that.
Well, explain.
Basically, I put a set of stock main bearings in the block, and the clearance was like a little over 4/1000ths of an inch, which is like double what I was looking for. It's a stock sized crank, so the crank was never ground, and so it was easy to determine that it was the block that was actually the issue. So I don't know if Allie can get it on camera, but you can kind of see it definitely looks like this main line has been honed at one point. And so King makes a special set of bearings. They actually make two different sets to use on blocks that have had the main line honed. So yeah, we ordered one of those. It seemed like there's only like one left in the country, so luckily we found it when we did. Got those ordered. They just came in, so now we are trying those out.
Awesome. So we're gonna put them all here, and then we're gonna put the crank in and torque it down. Is that how it works?
We don't need to put the crank in.
Oh, okay.
We'll just put them in and.
Oh, and then you use your bore gauge measuring tool.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Just like we did on the rods. I think we have a video with the bearings that didn't work, but just in case, I figure we could talk through that.
Oh yeah, because we had to get new bearings for both these and the rods, right?
We didn't have to, but we did.
chose to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was in our last video.
The rods was definitely in the last video. It's been a few days. I can't remember what we talked in terms of mains, because it was pretty late by the time I figured this all out, and some of us were napping.
That was me. I love naps. And if these work out, then we're ready to build the engine, right? And you picked up the heads today, didn't you?
Yep.
Nice.
So
We are ready to go, guys. Alright, well Mike's gonna finish putting these in and then we'll record the next step in just a minute. Stay tuned, as I like to say.
stay tuned.
Alright, so now we're gonna bolt it back together. And then we will take that bore gauge. What is it called?
Dial indicator bore gauge.
Scratch it. It just gets something on it from sitting.
Yeah, it just has something on it from sitting.
Nice. So pretty. You know, not a lot of people know what an engine block looks like on the inside.
Well, at least not a Subaru.
So for those of you who don't know, Subarus are horizontally opposed. So this is where the oil pan goes. So this is the bottom of the engine. And it's actually flat, kind of like pancake. So we have pistons here,
Well,
or rods and pistons.
eventually.
Eventually. We don't have anything in there right now. And then same thing on the other side. And then the cylinder heads that we were just discussing will sit right here. So, typical engines don't sit this way. What do you need?
Is it microfiber? Not that one, but another one on the bench below you.
No, yeah. So, this is very precise measuring. We want to make sure that everything is as perfect as possible. So. So Mike and I, well Mike is, I'm not doing shit. Mike is going to torque down all of these bolts. There is a pattern, is that the right word?
Sure, we can call it pattern. Sequence.
Sequence, there's the right word, that you're supposed to go in. So I'll kind of let Mike explain that. I'm not going to record the whole process because it is kind of long. But Mike does like to print out the torque specs on paper here, and just a half. So go ahead and explain that, Mike.
Basically, you do a pattern on this side, and then that side at a certain value, and then you go to this side, and there's actually two values depending on the length and the position of the bolts. Same over here, there's two different values. And then I think the third one, the third one's all just 90 degrees on all of them. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a process. A digital torque wrench is obviously a lot more handy because you can adjust it quicker. But
Well, it's on your Christmas list.
all right, there we go. So yeah, and like I said, it's just easier to print the factory service manual pages for it because I don't remember that well.
We should probably just make a book so you don't have to print these out every time you build an engine. Granted, I hope you're not building too many Subaru engines, but who knows? Might put that moon tune on it. Girls. Everyone always says it's for the boys. Well, what if it's for the girls?
It's not.
But it might be.
I asked, it's not.
Alright, well shout out to all my car girls out there. So we'll pick this back up in a second. There's no point in watching Mike tighten bolts to 9 foot-pounds. I'm blind.
7.4.
So, 7.4. Excuse me, Holmes. Olivia, what are you doing over there? We have a spectator. Camera. So that is what he is measuring with his tool. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
To measure the circumference of the diameter of the circle that just so happens to be attached to an engine.
Did you say circumference of the diameter?
Yeah. Is that not right? I mean, I understand it's basically the same word. Circumference and diameter are the same thing. Is that why you're laughing at me?
I wasn't laughing.
How's that looking?
Good.
So does that tool have like a little pin on the fat side and the pin on the skinny side, and it just like it just seats in that little gap?
No. The skinny side has the pin that activates the dial gauge.
So you were doing cylinder 2?
That was 3.
3, excuse me. And so far everything's looking good.
Ish.
What's ish?
As good as it's gonna be.
Good enough to send it? So Mike's gonna spin it and measure the other 2. So we'll give you an update here shortly. As I love to say, stay tuned.
Good enough for government work.
Good enough for government work, I see. So now that Mike and I are done measuring everything, we are going to be cleaning everything and assembling the engine. So Mike is using Brake Clean, his favorite product. Don't you even have a favorite brand, Mike?
Yeah, I like CRC.
CRC. So anyway, we're gonna go through and clean everything. So you're spraying out each oil passage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it important, even though all this stuff has been to the machine shop and it's clean, you can't see any debris?
I mean, I worked in a machine shop at one time, and I'll say everything is not always clean there, so just for a $4 can of brake clean, making sure everything is extra clean is definitely worth the effort in my eye.
It doesn't take much time.
No, and it just the end result is a lot lesser of a risk of foreign object debris fucking it all up.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be contaminated.
Yeah.
Is there anything on your towel just from you rubbing it down?
Yeah. There's a little bit. So.
Alright. Well, we're going to keep cleaning. So now Mike is cleaning the block as well. This block came from IAG, I believe. We bought it, so I'm not really sure if it came directly from IAG. Do you know?
The hose has a hole in it.
Oh, no.
No, it came from a shop in Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Well, it is clean, but because we've been testing everything and touching it, we're just going to clean it real quick. Mike's got a holy hose. It is Sunday.
My Jesus hose was coming out.
Jesus hose. Back in the game. So you're just blowing out all the oil passages?
Yeah, all the plugs are out, so it's easy to get to all of them at the moment.
We are doing this on our back deck just because we have a lot of stuff in our garage and we don't really want to move it all around. Mike and I really do need to get a shop. Mike's been trying to convince me to buy a bigger house with a shop, but So we'll do this to both sides and then we're ready for assembly. I think this is going to be a 2-part video because it's going to get a little bit too long. So if you are still watching, thank you.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. What are you doing now, Mike?
Oiling the cylinders since we just cleaned them.
Okay, you oil them with just regular old oil.
Regular old conventional oil.
And why is that?
Helps the rings seat better.
Okay. If you don't oil them, will they rust?
Yes.
Okay.
I really wish I had some Marvel Mystery Oil, but I forgot to order it.
So you're just using conventional 2050?
Yeah, for the cylinders. It's not ideal, but it's what I got.
Would you like to go get something?
Well, look.
Mike has a secret stash of oil in the basement. It's kind of crazy. Transmission fluid, oil. Huh, Mike?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Alright, well, we are getting close to assembling.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Alright, so Mike went and looked in the basement and he had some Marvel Mystery Oil. Mike, why do you use Marvel Mystery Oil?
Because J.E. recommends it.
Oh, right. That stuff does stink. That does smell like your dad's garage. So Mike's just rubbing down the cylinders here. So I'm so excited we're about to start assembly. Good Lord, what does that smell like? It almost smells like cough syrup.
it's not ideal.
Oh, I'm so excited. He's so pretty.
Alright, I figure we can go ahead and wrap this video up here. I'm sure by now it's getting a little bit long and is not the most exciting of content. Hopefully as we progress along with the build, the videos maybe get a little bit more outside of just walking through the engine build and into a little bit more of an overall overview of building the car and then ultimately going out and having some fun with it. So appreciate you all following along and we will see you in the next video.